August 27, 1939. 4 days before the German Wehrmacht storms across the Polish border to ignite the deadliest conflict in human history, a different kind of history is being made in the skies over Rostock. A small, strange aircraft is taxiing onto the runway. It lacks the defining feature of every plane that has ever flown before it. It has no propeller. There is no spinning blade chopping the air. There's only a gaping intake and a terrifying high-pitched scream that sounds like nothing on Earth. This is the Heinkel He-178. It is the world's first turbojet aircraft. It flies perfectly. It is faster than anything in the sky. And in that moment, Germany possesses a technological monopoly that could guarantee absolute air superiority for a decade. The pilot lands, exhilarated. The engineers celebrate. They have handed the Third Reich the keys to the future. And the High Command does not care. They do not just ignore it. They actively despise it. This is the story of the jet fighter that flew years before the rest of the world could even dream of it, and the bureaucratic arrogance that grounded it until it was too late to matter. This is the weapon that could have erased the Allied bomber fleets, rejected because the men in charge thought it was simply impractical. To understand this catastrophic failure of imagination, you have to step inside the mind of the Luftwaffe leadership in 1940. The German war machine is drunk on victory. Poland has fallen. France has collapsed in weeks. The British Army has been driven into the sea at Dunkirk. In Berlin, the atmosphere is electric with arrogance. The prevailing belief is that the war is practically over. The tactics of blitzkrieg fast tanks supported by dive bombers and agile piston engine fighters have proven unstoppable. Hermann Göring, the head of the Luftwaffe, and his deputies, Ernst Udet and Erhard Milch, are looking at production numbers, not potential. They're obsessed with the Messerschmitt Bf 109. It is a fantastic aircraft, a lethal predator. To them, disrupting the production lines of a proven winner to build a radical, fuel-thirsty, unproven fantasy machine is not just risky, it is treasonous to the war effort. Enter Ernst Heinkel. He is a visionary, but he is an outsider. He is not politically favored like Willy Messerschmitt. Heinkel sees that the piston engine is reaching its physical limit. You can only add so many cylinders and so much horsepower before the propeller tips hit supersonic speeds and lose efficiency. To go faster, to truly own the sky, you need jet propulsion. He builds the Heinkel He-280. This is not a test rig like the first plane. This is a weapon. It is a twin-engine jet fighter. It has tricycle landing gear. It has compressed air ejection seats, the first in history. It flies in early 1941. Let that sink in. In early 1941, while the British are flying Spitfires and the Americans are still designing the P-47, Germany has a flying, functional jet fighter prototype. The He-280 is fast. It clocks speeds over 500 miles per hour. It climbs like a rocket. Heinkel invites the RLM, the Reich Aviation Ministry, to a demonstration. He wants to show them that the future is now. The demonstration is a massacre. Heinkel arranges a mock dogfight between his jet, the He-280, and the pride of the Luftwaffe, the Focke-Wulf 190. The FW-190 is widely considered the best piston engine fighter in the world at that time. The pilots take off. The result is humiliating for the piston engine. The jet fighter runs circles around the FW-190. It can engage and disengage at will. It is untouchable. The FW-190 pilot lands, shaken. There's simply no defense against speed like that. The evidence is undeniable. The physics are absolute. And yet, the High Command says no. The rejection is delivered with the cold, bureaucratic logic that loses wars. Erhard Milch, the State Secretary for Aviation, argues that the jet engines are unreliable. They vibrate too much. They consume too much fuel, but the real reason is short-sightedness. The official decree comes down. The war will be won with what we have. They believe that introducing a new technology will take too long. They are convinced that England will surrender any day now. Why waste resources on a wonder weapon for a war that is already won? They cancel the He-280 project. They tell Heinkel to stop wasting aluminum and engineers on science fiction and go back to building bombers. It is a decision of staggering incompetence. If the He-280 had been greenlit in 1941, it would have entered service by late 1942 or early 1943. Consider the state of the air war in 1943. The the American 8th Air Force was beginning its daylight bombing campaign. Huge formations of B-17 flying fortresses were lumbering over Germany at 200 miles per hour. Against a Messerschmitt 109, the B-17 formations were dangerous. Their defensive guns were effective. But against a jet fighter? It would have been a slaughter. A jet flying 150 miles per hour faster than the interceptors of the day could slash through the bomber formations before the gunners could even track them. The Allied air superiority that paved the way for D-Day would have been impossible to achieve. Instead, the designs gather dust. The engineers are reassigned. Valuable months turn into valuable years. By the time the High Command realizes their mistake, the tide has turned. It is 1943, and the short war has become a long, grinding nightmare. The Allies are not surrendering. They are bombing German cities into rubble. Suddenly, the Luftwaffe is desperate for a miracle. They go back to the jet concept. But they don't go back to Heinkel's proven He-280. Politics intervene again. They favor Messerschmitt's project, the Me-262. The Me-262 is a masterpiece of engineering, arguably superior to the Heinkel design, but it is behind schedule. It faces massive technical hurdles with its engines. The metallurgy required to withstand the heat of a jet engine is rare in a Germany that is now being starved of resources. And then comes the final insult. When the Me-262 is finally ready to fly, Adolf Hitler himself intervenes. In a display of tactical blindness, he demands that this shark-like interceptor be converted into a bomber. He wants a Blitz bomber to strike back at the Allied beaches. He forces the engineers to hang heavy bombs on a streamlined fuselage designed for speed. It is like using a Ferrari to plow a field. The delays pile up, the engines catch fire, the landing gear collapses. The pilots are untrained. When the German jets finally enter combat in meaningful numbers, it is late 1944. The sky is black with Allied aircraft. The Me-262s scream through the formations, terrifying the Allied crews. For a brief moment, the German pilots experience the invincibility that Heinkel had promised them 4 years earlier. They shoot down bombers with ease. They outrun the Mustangs and the Thunderbolts. General Adolf Galland, the ace of aces, flies the jet and famously reports, "It is as if an angel is pushing." But there are only a handful of them. They are overwhelmed. They are strafed on the runway as they try to take off. There is no fuel to fly them. The factories building the engines are being bombed by the very planes the jets were supposed to shoot down. The tragedy of the German jet program is not that it failed, but that it succeeded too early and was punished for it. The Heinkel He-280 was the weapon that arrived before the war demanded it. It was rejected because the men in charge were fighting the last war, not the next one. They looked at a machine that defied gravity and saw only logistical headaches. Historians often debate turning points. They talk about Stalingrad, Midway, or El Alamein. But one of the most significant turning points occurred in a quiet office in Berlin, when a bureaucrat looked at the blueprints for the world's first combat jet fighter, checked his production schedule, and decided it wasn't worth the trouble. The Allies eventually developed their own jets, the Gloster Meteor and the P-80 Shooting Star, but they were years behind the German curve. If the Luftwaffe had listened to Heinkel in 1939, the Battle of Britain might have ended very differently. The skies over Normandy in 1944 might have been a no-fly zone for the Allies. In the end, the Heinkel He-280 serves as the ultimate cautionary tale of military history. Innovation is useless without the vision to recognize it. The Third Reich had the technology to change the world, sitting on a runway in Rostock, screaming to be let loose. And they simply turned off the engine and walked away.